The term false flag comes from pirates, who flew flags of other countries to conceal their true identity and shift the blame to an innocent country. Remember the Maine is a textbook case of false flags to justify all US military invasions and to plunder the wealth of their victim countries. Maine was a US battleship exploded and sank in the harbor of Havana, Cuba, in 1898, killing 261 US soldiers. The US blamed it on Spain, who had colonized Cuba, and declared war on Spain. Spain lost the war and ceded to the US Puerto Rico, the Philippines, and Guam, and Cuba became a protectorate of the US. This unclassified, top secret memorandum reveals the US playbook for false flag operations to justify their military violence and bloodshed in targeted countries. Step 1. Provoke their victim. Get ready for false flag operations. So you see in the news, the US is provoking all its targeted victims, all the time. Step 2. Launch false flag attacks. First thing first is to start many rumors, making tons of fake news to incite global hatred against their targets. Then pay victims' countries traitors to stage attack on the US and start riots. Then blow up ammunition, start fires, burn aircraft, lob mortar shells into US base, capture mock assault teams and militants, sabotage and sink ship, and conduct funeral for mock victims. After all these false flag attacks, military invasion is justified to plunder wealth. War brings arms sales for economy growth. One stone, two birds. War is a very profitable business for those who love bloodshed. As Jimmy Carter said it, the US is the most warlike country in world history. There have only been 5 years of peace in its 244 years as a country. Step 3. Remember the Maine is the playbook of playbooks. US can blow up its own ship, its own drone, killing its own soldiers and citizens to justify an invasion, to start a war. Step 4. Demonize their victims with false flag operations. Develop a communist or Islamic false flag terror attack. Sink a boatload of Cubans. Foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees. Arrest Cuban actor agents. Release fake news. All these false flag operations are to project the idea of an irresponsible government. Apart from Remember the Maine, the Reichstag fire is another textbook playbook for the US false flag operations. The Reichstag fire was an arson attack on the German parliament building. The Nazi party blamed it on the communists, accusing them of plotting against the German government. Hitler used the fire to make the Reichstag fire decree a law, which suspended most civil liberties in Germany, including press freedom. Likewise, 9/11 was used to make the Jesuits' Patriot Act a national law. The Patriot Act increases the government's power to spy and violates the rights of the amendments to the Constitution. The 9/11 false flag attacks were also used as a pretext for the US to invade Afghanistan and Iraq, to plunder wealth with bloodshed. The Covid-19 attack on Wuhan is the largest false flag op in human history. Covid-19 is a bioweapon plotted against China over 15 years ago by Western politicians and the filthy rich, who are senior Freemasons, with the goal of killing all the Chinese to reduce world population. The Covid-19 conspiracy was exposed 10 years ago by Bill Ryan and his Freemason witness on YouTube.
He heard this being discussed in this meeting. They will release a flu-like virus that will be genetically targeted against the Chinese population. It's racially targeted against the Chinese people. It's designed to spread like wildfire and to knock out a large number of the Chinese people. And these people in this meeting were laughing about this. They said, China will catch a cold. Those were their words. China will catch a cold. And they were laughing about the fact that these biological weapons will wreak havoc among the Chinese population. And after that, then what effectively will be a kind of plague will actually spread right across the world to the West as well.
Stephen Cooper, an electrical engineer, escaped the 9/11 false flag attacks, but died in the Covid-19 false flag op in March 2020. How tragic to be an American. Now you've learned the evil character of the United States. Do you still believe Gary Webb committed suicide, and Bing Liu was killed in a murder-suicide? Gary Webb was an investigative journalist. His Dark Alliance series have exposed the government's dark secret. The CIA and law enforcement were protecting the crack cocaine trade in Los Angeles, run by the anti-communist Contra rebels in Nicaragua. Webb was found dead in his Carmichael home on the 10th of December, 2004, with 2 gunshot wounds to his head. His death was ruled a suicide by the coroner's office. Bing Liu was a professor at the University of Pittsburgh, an expert in computational modeling and analysis of biological systems dynamics. On the 2nd of May, 2020, he was on the verge of making very significant coronavirus findings when he shot dead in a home with multiple gunshot wounds. A second body belonging to Hao Gu, a software engineer, was found an hour later in a car about 1.6 kilometers from the home where Liu was found. Police ruled the 2 deaths as a murder-suicide. Taken together, the White Gang's Covid-19 conspiracy and Liu's findings on the origin of Covid-19, Liu's killing was definitely not a murder-suicide. Both Chinese men were killed by the US to cover up the Covid-19 truth, a false flag op straight from the same playbook of Kennedy's assassination. USA is not a nation. It is the most evil crime gang, built on land looting and bloodshed.